apology. Peter, what I'm about to say, if you like feel bad about it, I don't give a fuck. Oh, you want to know what I'm about to say? Good boy, Mr. P.
Hello guys, Psquare has started again. The real truth is out, and we have the first and the second part. Sit and watch, and drop a comment.
After that reunion, so-called reunion, that I thought the reunion was for us brothers. Next day being Friday, Jude, I think Paul called me and said I should come to his house. I came. I saw him and Jude. Jude has the documents. I said, hey Peter, take this document, sign here. Paul, sign here. Paul was picking to sign. I said, what's the document for? He said, oh, it's to open Access Bank account. That people are beginning to call for shows, you know, calling hundreds of thousands, hundreds of millions. But we need to put the money in Access. He works with Access. He knows the. I said, calling for shows for who? So what do I mean? I said, Paul, you're not there, Jude. You say, tell me for what? Peter, do we need to go there? I said, no, Paul, come on now. Paul now said, he said no, they do Psquare. Jude was not like, what's all the whole paparazzi and all that? I said, no, we're back as brothers, bro. I'm done with Psquare. I'm not interested in Psquare anymore. He said, why? I said, has any other thing brought problem for us before except Psquare? He said, but that means you don't have. I said, no. I forgive him, bro. Don't get me wrong. I forgive him, but I'm not interested. While that was going on, Paul was trying to, convince me. Jude said, Paul, leave. No one now. I know what to do. Jude left. Apparently, the next day being Saturday, Jude then now sent for my manager, MM, and the guy that was managing Paul, Sheo, called them together. We all went to Paul's studio. And I said, oh, that Peter I get your point. However, you don't want what has happened before to happen again, but no problem. What will happen is that he's going to bring these two individuals to the team. I said, to the team to manage what? I'm not trying to stress them more, but you need to give me a reason. And I said, oh, that he and Jude will be the official manager. My manager, MM, will be assistant manager. And Sheu, Paul's manager, will be road manager. He offered them money, how much he will be paying them every show. I started laughing. Paul, my manager, and Paul's manager even started laughing. Paul started feeling like it's becoming an embarrassment moment for Jude. He now called me and said, he doesn't like this thing. He took me to the living room. Doesn't like this in that time. Look how I'm embarrassing Jude. I said, Paul, what embarrassment here? Let's be honest, bro. Let's be very honest. Why that was going on? Paul said, is it because of sharing formula? Because in share, we share 3 ways. In fact, we don't even share 3 ways. How we share money is, I'll come and say, hey, I need to pay my kids' school fees. How much? Maybe it's 12 million naira. Jude will sign a check, 12 million, and give me. Sign 12, Paul. Sign 12 for himself. That was how we were running Psquare. Oh, Peter, you want to buy this car? Take. Paul, take. Him, take. Now, Paul now say, you know one thing. It is because of the sharing formula, Peter. So I will stop all this. Me and you 35. Jude go take 30. I said, Paul, no. Take 30 to do what? To manage one Psquare. I'm not interested. And I look at Paul, I said, I ask you one question. I won't use pigeon now. I beg you. He did try make Jude be our manager. How come 5.5 years? Me and you know they together. How come Jude no be your manager? Now, Peter, if Jude be my manager, Everybody go to think say that 2 against 1. Really? This is exactly what it has been. So let's make something clear here. It don't look as if I hate Jude or I don't like him to manage us. But let's recall back that Beyonce fired her own father. Usher Raymond fired his own mother. Late Michael Jackson fired his own father. We, Psquare, we even told our own mother to step aside. So what is all this? Your brother must manage you. And I know a lot of people start saying, oh, how come I don't want Jude to be our manager? Let's be very honest, guys. Before Jude came in, or before we brought Jude in as our manager, we've had 3 several managers. One, Chioma Ugoji, she went from being a dance group manager to Psquare's manager. Later on, our mom became our manager for like few months. Then, of course, you all know Bayo Dusabi, popularly known as Howie T. That's the guy that actually discovered us fully. He became our manager for over at least 6 years before we now brought in Jude. Now the question is, within these 3 before Jude, have we had any, has Peter and Paul ever had any fight or any issue? Because none of them would take sides. None of them took sides. At the moment where Paul was trying to convince me, and I said, I actually gave it a thought. Maybe try to give it a try. I said, okay, Paul, you want Psquare back? No problem. Let's go back upstairs. I've decided to make an offer. Because he was trying to convince me. And we went upstairs where the 2 managers, including Jude, were there. And I said, so guys, Paul, you guys want Psquare back? No problem. Here is what it's going to look like. I and Paul will set up a company. I and Paul will be only signatory. I and Paul will take care of every administrative when it comes to finance, signatory, everything. And I and Paul will go with 40-40. The 3 manager, which is now Jude, Shehu, and MM, will go with 20%. Jude does it. He doesn't understand that if that's the case, he'd rather work for free. And I now said, gentlemen and lady, Jude now works for free. And that's how I ended that meeting. This is the Psquare everybody think they are back. Within 4 or 5 days, me and Paul didn't see eye to eye after that incident. Until Paul now came to me. After we went to Sierra Leone, because there was a show that was booked for Mr. P today in Sierra Leone, the next day for Paul. We finally called it that we were coming together. After we went to Sierra Leone and came back, Paul now said to me, so there's nothing for Jude. I said, not about Jude. I'm not even doing Psquare. Paul, it's not about Jude here. Can we just come back as brothers? Can we live life as brothers first? Let me even experience it. Let me experience living as brothers. Now everything looks like there's a competition running around everybody. I don't like it. And I said, okay, no problem. More take your second option. I said, which is my second option? Man, you should set up a company, blah, 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 blah. Unfortunately, Jude cannot take that offer. So me, I will continue. I said, no problem. We sent our lawyer, he came. Brought the document, set up. Mode of work. Everything Peter and Paul 50-50. Every decision 50-50. Sharing formula 50-50. We signed. We started up Square Root Entertainment. We started up. Now we started doing shows. Started the Psquare reunion. While we were planning the Psquare reunion, I overheard something that was very disturbing. Like, it was very disturbing. Proud to Paul's apology to my wife that Jude and Paul had a serious fight. Remember, we're neighbors. Yeah. And I started doing my investigation. First of all, I wanted to play ignorant, like no need, But 4, or should I say 3 individuals from Paul's camp confirmed it, that Paul and Jude actually had a fight minutes or hours before Paul came to my house to meet my wife. And this was what I discovered, that Paul claimed he borrowed Jude 90 million. Now he wanted Jude to give the money back to him, but he wanted this time Jude to borrow him 90 million because there's some property he wanted to buy somewhere in Lekki that he doesn't have the complete money, that even with the 90 million you want to borrow from Jude, it's still going to be complete. The money is not going to be complete at the end, but I need to give it to the owner of the property as a deposit. But when he approached Jude, that was when they had that issue, and that Paul's PA and I think maybe his manager were there. Paul had already told them that, oh, listen, Jude is owing me. So that night they had an altercation that when Paul approached Jude, they said, hey, listen, I need my 90 million. Paul, Jude, I said, which 90 million? The one I gave you. How did I borrow 90 million for you? Everybody around were looking at Paul. Okay, you've told us that Jude was owing you 90 million. Jude said, show me now I'm owing you 90 million. It's not easy for Paul to bring out his phone and say, look at how you are owing me, blah. Paul couldn't proceed with that. Jude said, tell me now, show me how I take borrow 90 million from you. Jude now brought his phone and showed Paul's team and said, hey, listen, Paul, you said you borrowed me this money 2-3 months ago. Guys, look. Jude brought his phone and said, guys, see, 3 months ago, see hundreds of thousands of dollars that I have in my account. But show me where you gave me 90 million. Then now what came out of Paul's mouth was, Jude, you know, give me this 90 million. No wahala. I go tell Peter waiting day. Now, I'm sure most of you don't understand what that means. It means I will go and confess to Peter. Obviously, there is something going on. Despite I have heard these things, I guarantee you, I still played and I stayed calm. I believe if whatever that has happened after we broke up, it's understandable. But no, these things have been happening years, and I'm about to prove it to everyone right now. And so that was how Paul walked out from Jude, went to his bedroom, wore his slippers, because he was crying, washed his face, told his PA and his manager he should escort him, wants to come to my house. He said, but Peter no dey now, Peter the American. Say no problem, and Lola in one go meet. That's how Paul went to meet Lola. So the whole reunion was because he has a fallout with Jude. Now, I'll come to that. We announced our world tour. We started touring. I discovered that the people handling my distribution as Mr. P are the same people handling Road Boy. I said, let's give them Psquare. Jude refused. Paul refused. This was Paul who bragged about these individuals. He doesn't even know that they're the ones that handle my own distribution. So, while that was going on, during our tour, I discovered that some people wanted to buy Psquare catalog. They walked up to me. I said, no problem, I'll discuss with my brothers. They offered millions of dollars. You can buy it off for 10 years. After 10 years, return it back or buy it off for life. So me and Paul had a discussion in London, because me and Paul were touring. Remember, Jude was not with us. Came back. By then, when I walked up to Jude and Paul, I said, listen, how far? So Paul want to buy Jude. He said, no problem. They have some people that are ready to even pay now. He now told me the amount. It was less. I said, no, these guys are offering more. All they want from us is to give them a back end. How much this thing generates every month, which I do not have. And I asked Jude. Jude said, it's not possible. I said, how? That these other people are better. I said, no problem. Whatever he gave the other people, give it to me. Let me give it to these people. Highest bidder. While that was going on, I kept on insisting. And I walked up to Paul. I said, why is that Jude doesn't want to give me this back end? He said, I don't know. But I don't know anything about this. I just, the music I do. You know, Peter, I don't know about all these things. Really, Paul? No problem. I played ignorant. Then the same people called me. Paul's manager and my manager, who are now our manager, now said, do you need to throw it to other companies like Universal, Sony, to know highest bidder? I said, okay. They went and submit the whole proposal that Psquare wants to sell the catalog. Next thing, everyone demanded, they wanted the back end. I persuaded Jude to give it to me. He now said, it's going to take 3.5 months. I started feeling somehow. If I tell you to give me your statement of account, few minutes, even with your app, you bring it. He's telling me 3.5 months. So that's how long it will take. I still play ignorant. Waited for the 3.5 months. Walked up to him after 3.5 months. He kept on doing like this. I walked up to Paul. Paul, what is going on? Say, Peter, I don't know anything about this. This whole thing where they talk about. I persuaded. Junior said, I should send him my email. He forwarded it. I looked at it. What he sent me was how many streams, but without how much it generates. I looked at it. I said, look, I just sent forwarded to the two manager. Now this is where it becomes interesting. Now the two managers sent this back ends out. Nobody got back. So imagine people that have offered huge amount of money on this same catalog. After going through the tampered back end, most of them came back with an unbelievable lower amount offer. For example, imagine someone offering to buy a product for 500 naira, and after seeing the back end of the product, they're now offering 10 naira. How? I went to Paul. Have you heard? See what's going on. In fact, one of them even said, bro, who sent this to you? I said, why? Whoever that sent this thing to you, or is it the distribution company, got them arrested. I said, it was my brother that sent it to me. I don't think your brother knows what has gone wrong. I became worried. And I said, okay, the best thing I can do is, we have a management company called Northside Entertainment. Director is Peter, Paul, and Jude. Jude owns 40, Peter and Paul own 30. Management company, what that means is that if you pay a Psquare 100 million, management takes 10%. Inside that 10%, Peter and Paul are managing themselves. Means the manager can even go with 4 million, Peter and Paul go 3 million. The same 19 million still remains for the artist. I said the best thing I can do, I contacted all the account officers of Nosa Entertainment in different banks. Zenith.
So guys, after listening to everything said on this video, please share your thoughts and let me know what you think about the world situation on the comment section. So that will all for the video.